RiseUp theme song, take 14. Answering the difficult and critical questions youth may face that relate to Mormon culture and teachings. This is the Rise Up podcast, produced by Fair Mormon. In this episode of the Rise Up podcast, Blake sits down with some young adults who are called as digital missionaries in their stake to share articles and testimony on a blog called smallandsimpletruths.com.
Okay, well, welcome today to this episode of the Rise Up podcast. Today, I am happily joined with some unique stake missionaries, and they are contributors to a website called smallandsimpletruths.com. Let me just read a little bit about what the point of this website is. And this comes from their biography that's on the website there. It says, "We are a small group of Mormons or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who set up Small and Simple Truths as a way to share our beliefs with others. We started Small and Simple Truths in May 2014 as we looked around at the content on our social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We felt there was an opportunity to share things that were more inspiring and uplifting. So we decided to begin to share our beliefs and experiences online with the hope that in some small way it would help to strengthen others' faith in Jesus Christ." So I'm joined with Lincoln, Caitlin, and Whitney. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you guys, tell me what exactly is your calling? What's it? What's the title?
Well, we were called and set apart as ward missionaries and to serve a digital mission.
A digital mission. Isn't that, were you kind of surprised when you got that call?
Yeah, it was something completely new, and none of us really knew exactly what we were doing.
I bet. Lincoln, what was kind of going through your mind when you got that call?
I was honestly a little nervous at first, being asked to share my beliefs about the gospel as a digital missionary in ways that I'd never done before. That being on social media and using my profiles on Twitter and Facebook to share the gospel. So at first I was a little nervous about that because it's something I'd never done before. So I knew it was going to be a little tricky at first.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, now you're all in high school, juniors in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so teenagers. So Caitlin, tell me, how does this work? I mean, as a teenager, you're sharing the gospel, you're not called on a mission. What are some of your thoughts about sharing the gospel in this way?
I agree with Lincoln. At first, it was a little nerve-wracking, to be using like our personal Twitter and Facebook and everything, and to be sharing the gospel with everyone, not just members or our peers in our ward or in seminary. It's very open to all of our friends, but I think it was something that we were all very excited to do because it's a huge opportunity and a great almost excuse to share the gospel, and a great reason and motivation to use the tools that the Lord has given us to really further His work.
That's awesome. I like how you said a reason, to do it, because we all have these tools available.
Yeah.
But we don't, sharing the gospel isn't always the number one thing we think of.
Sure.
So would you call smallandsimpletruths.com, would you say it's a website or a blog, or what would you call it? What do you think?
More of a blog.
Okay.
I think, because we share our posts, and most of it's writing from us, and it's more of in a blog format.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Whitney, tell me, like, how does the whole process work? So you have the website, and like and this is for any of you guys, what's the point of what you're writing, and what are you hoping to get across, and how do you come up with what you're going to say and those kinds of things, or the topics that you're covering?
Okay, so the topics. So none of us are assigned topics. We all are able to go and choose and write about whatever we're inspired to write about. We're encouraged to pray about it and to study about it. And a lot of times it's we write about questions that we have, and then we are able to look into it more, study more out about it, or something that we love, or questions that other people have asked us. And then the writing process, so we start by writing our first draft, and then we have it edited by our parents just to get out any errors or to phrase things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step is to have it reviewed by one of our peers who's less active or a non-member.
Okay.
And just to get their opinion on it. And so that way we have the personal connection, the personal missionary experience, and not just sharing it on Facebook, but you have that personal, in person, just, hey, will you read over my blog? Or just and then we get their feedback, and then we send it in, and it's published on the blog.
Awesome. So I like that you have somebody who's not necessarily in the faith all the time. Does that help kind of weed out kind of buzzwords and stuff that we usually use?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I think it helps. Yeah, definitely the words that you said. Some phrases that some people aren't familiar with, and kind of gives you a different view on how you're saying things, and kind of makes you think before you're writing and as you're writing who this is really going out to. And it's not just to strengthen the members of our church, but also to inform and hope that others can feel the Spirit as well when they read our writing.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you had any, give me an example of when you've had one of your friends or peers look at it and for any of you that you're kind of oh, I didn't even think that would be a problem. Or, where they said, maybe you should change this. Has anything like that happened?
I think that we've had, all of us have had great success stories in that way of using that as a big missionary experience. I personally wrote a blog on faith in the Lord, and sent it to one of my less active friends, and he came back with, sometimes we get grammar errors, or sometimes we get wording and phrases that they think should be different, and he gave me a few of those, and then he told me he thought my faith was so strong and wondered why he lost faith so easily.
Oh, really?
And I thought that was so cool.
That is cool.
That he could read my writing and my testimony about faith and feel that, and to think of that and relate it personally to his life. And that was a huge experience for me, to realize that this really is affecting people.
Yeah.
And this is, something that our friends are reading and paying attention to and actually applying to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Any others? Lincoln, did you have one?
Yeah, just with sharing these with our less active or non-member friends, I think it distances us from making these almost a sacrament talk. I think in the beginning when all of us were writing these, we'd send them into our leaders, and they'd say, this is great, and what you're saying is awesome, but it feels like you're giving a talk in sacrament. So almost,
and those aren't effective.
Yeah.
In missionary.
Yeah, and I don't know, it helps us helps us realize the audience that we're writing to. Not necessarily everyone that reads our post as a member of the church, and so it helps us write in a way to try to inform people about our beliefs and what we practice and what we have faith in, but then also to, sort of share from the experiences we have to make it more interesting to read, and not necessarily just us, I don't know, giving a sacrament talk.
Yeah, just doctrine.
Yeah, don't you think that's interesting? Because we can get kind of bogged down in habit. And so this kind of forces you to not do those same kind of habits.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's really interesting. So tell me, what does this do? First of all, how long have you served in this calling? I know that it says that it's just been since May 2014. Has it been since then that you've been in this calling?
Yeah.
And how many total youth are involved, would you say?
I think
Over, under?
I think we're up to 16 youth now
Okay.
serving from our stake.
And it's a whole stake,
Yes.
right? It's a stake. And so tell me, as you've done this and as you've started doing it, how has this helped your belief and your testimony? Because I'm assuming that you, like Caitlin, like you said, you were writing about faith, not necessarily that you were questioning your faith, but these topics that you're kind of pushing yourself to learn more. What do you guys think? How have the writing these articles helped you in your faith and learning answers to hard questions?
Well, for me, it was really challenging at first because it's just you're putting the things that are dearest to your heart into words, and that can be hard because you're like, well, just like I know what I want to say, but I don't know how I can say it and how I can say it effectively, and so it makes you think, and it makes you have to study and just like write it and rewrite it, and just so you have to translate those feelings into words.
Yeah,
I agree. I think the way I started off choosing my topics is I chose the things I felt were strongest pieces of my testimony, and I agree. I knew so strongly about these topics and these ideas and doctrines, and I felt so strongly about them, but it was just how to convey them and to not only explain them, but try to relate to other people and to get our point across. And I find it a huge blessing to be able to look back now and see. I don't think a ton of people get the opportunity to literally write down their testimony, it divided by topics, and to really realize how much we do believe and how much this gospel brings us so much joy. And I just find it a huge blessing that I have been able to really search how I feel and to be able to put it in words and look back anytime that I have any doubts or any questions or even need help with myself or my friends. I can see my testimony written down in words right there.
Okay, awesome.
For me, I think it's helped me come out of my shell just in general when it comes to sharing the gospel. I was really nervous at first to even, have a blog linked that I had to post on Twitter. I was nervous. I'm like, my friends are going to think I'm weird that aren't of the same faith. But now, months later, it's changed me completely. I feel more confident sharing the gospel, not only when it comes to small and simple truths, but just in general trying to share goodness. Actually have my background picture on Twitter is the Laie Hawaii Temple, and
cool.
I feel confident now being able to share the gospel and sharing what I believe on social media. I think it's just helped me realize that I don't need to be afraid to share what I believe.
Yeah. How excited were you when you heard what Elder Bednar said about #ShareGoodness? Were you guys just jazzed?
Oh, I was so excited. I was there.
Where were you?
I got to be at that devotional, and it was just excitement. And I think everyone there was excited.
Yeah.
But then it was just a few months after we had started this, and just like, it was like, this is just going to get bigger. And I was excited. Yeah.
When he said that what we've done is just a trickle and there's going to be a huge flooding. And it's really been interesting to see, and we have all this media and all these opportunities. So Lincoln, you said something kind of interesting, because I think a lot of youth, and that's what this podcast is primarily for, youth who are looking for answers and looking for questions. This isn't the hippest thing to do, to share gospel stuff.
No.
And maybe it is in some places, but for whatever reason, there's kind of a stigma or something. So you kind of explained it, but is it just getting in the habit of sharing it that kind of takes down that stigma, you think?
I think it has, and I think it's our experiences have only grown as we share more and more. Now we've seen our blog, the map of it is literally reaching people in different countries, and that's sort of been a motivation. I didn't, when we started this, I didn't realize how big this was going to be and have such a big impact. And I think now just being able to share it more often and having the opportunity to has only helped us, and it's strengthened our testimonies, and we're striving to get what we believe out there. And I think it's been a big help for those who have been able to read our posts, but not only that, but us as missionaries. It strengthened our testimony, and it's helped us realize that sharing the gospel is what we are called to do, even though even us in general as members of the church aren't all missionaries. It's something that we can do and that we should be doing, and it's a great work.
That's awesome.
I think also just answering that question as well, start off by forwarding on one of our blogs, you know, like you can start by just saying, I believe what they said, and then slowly shape it into your own words as you gain confidence in that topic, in that region. Just start saying, now this is what I believe, this is what I say. And I think also something that we've learned to do is share through a variety of ways, through pictures, through captions, through little quotes from our blog, through a big blog. You know, sometimes people will see what we wrote. They're not long, but sometimes people won't just jump in that and say, I'm just going to dedicate all my time to, you know, read this that I don't know about. Sometimes you just have to share simply. And so that's something that I would just say a tip on sharing if you're not fully confident with that yet. Put out a picture that just talks about how happy you are because you just read a great scripture, or, you know, something just simple that can get your message across and share goodness.
Great. Whitney, let me have you give kind of the last word. You guys have shared some great stuff. But what advice, Whitney, would you give to youth who maybe are questioning their faith or don't know what to do? What advice would you give them in trying to find answers to gospel questions?
One thing I would say is don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, there's nothing wrong with having questions or doubts, and just don't be afraid to ask. One thing that I love that Al Fox always says is she says, ask God, not Google.
Yeah.
And just pray to Heavenly Father, search the scriptures and ask those you trust. Ask your parents, talk to your bishop, talk to your seminary teacher, just even talk to your friends. Just don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you guys coming by and talking with us and sharing some of your testimonies. Encourage everybody to who's listening to this podcast to go to smallandsimpletruths.com and find anything. Go ahead and search through all of the topics and read from these great people, these great youth in our church, and comment and ask them questions. This is a great opportunity for you guys to learn, and I really appreciate you guys coming by. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Rise Up. This has been a production of Fair Mormon. This and other podcasts are available at fairmormon.org. The opinions expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the views of Fair Mormon or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please subscribe to our show in iTunes under the name Mormon Faircast. Questions or comments can be posted at blog.fairmormon.org in conjunction with this episode. Tune in each week for another episode of Rise Up. Thank you for listening.